Joining me now, one of the attorneys general, part of this lawsuit, Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge. AG, good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
You're just carrying water for special interest groups, says the Biden administration. What do you say to that?
Well, that's nonsense. This lawsuit that we filed on behalf of these states is really about fairness and the rule of law. President Biden does not understand either of those. He is using the HEROES Act in order to give this student loan cancellation policy in place. And the HEROES Act was designed for our brave men and women of the military, yet he's wanting to give it to those who went to Ivy League schools and have high-dollar degrees, and putting that debt on the backs of hardworking Americans and our plumbers and mechanics and machinists and nurses and teachers. And so this is against the law, and it's patently unfair.
In terms of this carving out the loans, they're federal loans, but they're held by private institutions. The Biden administration seems to be trying to just inoculate itself from legal challenges. But does this carve out really, does that eliminate the legal basis for your lawsuit?
Not at all. In Arkansas, we have the Arkansas Student Loan Authority, which essentially doles out the federal money. And what this will do is prevent us from having that revenue. And we want to make sure that we have that. That's why we have that revenue available. But we also want to make sure that we're not putting $400 billion worth of debt on the backs of Americans.
Todd?
You refer to these special interest groups. That's what the Biden's administration saying is a way to say this is a bad thing. But specifically with regard to the issue of standing, Republican Senator Ted Cruz actually expressed concern that Republican AGs like yourself wouldn't necessarily be able to find the level of standing, or at least he expressed concern that standing under the law would not be met. Do you feel that your argument that basically says, look, this will cost Arkansas money, do you think that rises to the level of standing you will need to bring this case and ultimately be successful in a court of law?
Indeed, we do. And that's why we filed the lawsuit, is because we do have standing. We would not have filed it. I understand that Senator Cruz was the Solicitor General of Texas previously, and perhaps Texas will have that conversation. But in Arkansas, I worked very closely with our Solicitor General that works with me, who will be arguing a case before the U.S. Supreme Court in a few hours. And we determined that, yes, we do, in fact, have standing. That's why we brought this case.
Let me ask you this. Minnesota officials have announced one of the largest fentanyl busts in Midwest history. Police arresting a man who had 24 pounds of fentanyl on him. They say that the 11,000 pills was enough to kill 1/5 of the entire state's population. Attorney General, how is your state combating this crisis? Again, it's brought on by the wide open border. But what can you do? What are you doing?
Well, we work very closely with law enforcement. Our law enforcement across Arkansas tells us that they are having more and more fentanyl bust, if you will, interactions. We're seeing overdoses. A dear friend of mine lost her son recently because he accidentally took a pill that was laced with fentanyl. This is killing Arkansans and Americans, and it is because of that wide open border. I had the opportunity to visit the border earlier this year with Maria, and to see for myself and other AGs, for us to see for ourselves the tragedy that is occurring as we have this wide open border policy, because that small amount of fentanyl can wipe out the entire population of Arkansas.
Attorney General, you mentioned this briefly, but you are appearing before the Supreme Court later today about your lawsuit against Delaware, and that state's saying that state stole $250 million from 30 other states through unclaimed money orders sent through MoneyGram. Tell us more about that before you go.
Yes, it's Arkansas versus Delaware, and essentially MoneyGram was incorporated in Delaware. The state of Delaware kept all of those unclaimed money orders, and they should have gone back. The law is clear. It should have gone back to the states where those money orders were purchased. Delaware started recognizing these as official checks to skirt around it. So essentially, you've got Delaware and MoneyGram that pretty much colluded in order to keep $250 million that belongs back to these 30 other states. We were excited to lead this effort. We are looking forward to going before the Supreme Court in a matter of hours. It'll be Justice Jackson's first day, and so it's a very exciting time. But we're going to get this money back for Arkansas and for those other 29 states with us.
Attorney General Leslie Rutledge, thank you so much for being here this morning. Terrific to see you.